Hey everybody, it's Derek here. We're going to go over the news for June 14th, June 20th. So we're going to more or less kick off just with E3. So there were a lot of games that came out, or not didn't come out, but were announced or got updates or, excuse me, or got whatever at E3. I'm just going to go over a couple of the ones that I liked. However, there are a number of videos on the channel where I went through kind of the bigger presentations. Bigger, as it turned out, they weren't really all that interesting, but some games were in there. But there's also games that I'm not going to mention here that are in those videos, so if you have more of an interest, you can check those out as well. But we'll kick off here. So this was Somerville. This was shown off during the Xbox and Bethesda presentation. Somerville, we've seen some bits of it before. It is a side-scrolly, puzzly thing set in some kind of post-apocalyptic deal, I guess. It's a family with a dog, or at least there's some dude with a dog. Occasionally has a dog. He doesn't have a dog now, and he pushes things, and it's quite gloomy and quite atmospheric. Trailer is really interesting, and I really like side-scrolly stuff anyway, so I'd be looking to check this out, probably on PC, because I don't have an Xbox console, so I'll have to figure that out somehow. Also, there was a bit of Plague Tale Requiem. So this was an entirely CG trailer for the sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence. This is mostly just a mood-setting piece. It's a very slow build-up, and then they introduce you to the big wave of rats that was well known in the Plague Tale Innocence game. And there's like horrible medieval stuff happening in the background. But more Plague Tale, I'm very happy with that. Luckily, this is actually coming to PlayStation. Again, this was announced during the Xbox Bethesda thing. But with Sony not having their own presentation, a lot of games that are going to come to PlayStation, it was left for them to appear in other presentations. And obviously Xbox were not going to tell everybody that, oh yeah, this game's also going to be on PlayStation. So it's left for people to go check out the trailers and make sure that it actually says PlayStation at the end of it, which I think it does. It says PlayStation at the end there. So we've got that at least. And then Replaced, which unfortunately is not coming to PlayStation. This looked really, really interesting. This was a first look at it. And you get a chance, you should check out the trailer yourself. There's some really nice music playing in it that I wasn't allowed to play during the live stream, just because it was streamed on Twitch. So Twitch are really shit about the DMCA, even worse than YouTube. But you are playing an AI inhabiting a human body somehow, I think. What's interesting here is, one, the art style is really, really good. It's really, really nice. It's got this kind of like blown out pixel look to it. It probably doesn't come across too well on this video, but looking at it here in full screen, just the specular effect, even though it's pixel art, it's gorgeous. But also its combat system, to be fair, we don't know much about the system, but what it's doing with dynamic camera, what it's doing with like animation wise for that character, it's just really, really intriguing, and I am very much here for it. I just want to get to the part where he does the flip over the guy. Fucking sick. Okay, anyway, that's Replaced. Again, that was also in the Xbox shenanigans. Babylon's Fall. So we've heard like a lot of different things about Babylon's Fall. Let me get to the gameplay bit. Sorta. This is by Platinum. It'll be published by Square Enix. I was all aboard for it because, like, Platinum games, I really want to play more of that. Except it came out during the presentation that it's going to be a live service title, which means it's going to be something like, Destiny and those kinds of live service titles. And you know what that means? It means grinding, it means microtransactions, it means having to log in every day to do your second job. And I've already got a second job. It's Final Fantasy XIV and Genshin Impact and a couple of other games. I have enough. On my plate. I can't commit that much time to another game. So it's really disappointing to find out that it's a live service title, but I know Square Enix are looking for their they're looking for their moneymaker, and they desperately wanted Avengers to be that, but they fucked that up just because right at the last minute they turned a single player game into a live service game. It just didn't have the legs for it. Maybe if they're making this on the outset with the idea it's live service, maybe it'll work out. But to be honest, the whole live service thing, just, I've yet to see a game where I'm eager to go back to it, you know? Well, except Final Fantasy 14, but I'm playing the trial at the moment, so I'm not actually paying for it. Anyway, that's Babylon's Fall. Kind of disappointed on how that turned out. So the big meme of the whole event. So there's always one game that just gets memed into oblivion. So this was the rumored Final Fantasy / Neo game that I think I mentioned in the last video, that like there were rumors about it. So they showed it off. It's Stranger of Paradise, because I guess they didn't want to pay the copyright for Strangers in Paradise, but whatever. Now, you're not going to get the meme potential in this video just because I have the audio off. But he says the word chaos like 500 times in this video. He's a very angry man. Like a lot of people are comparing him to like PS3 game protagonists, you know, Xbox 360 protagonists, which were always brown, very angry men who really needed to go to therapy. Anyway, that's what he's coming across as in this trailer and in the combat a lot. There is a demo for the game out, and I am going to be doing a video for it. It should be up this week at some point. It's not as blatant when you actually play through the game, and the gameplay itself is actually a lot of fun. It does play a bit like Neo, but it's a bit friendlier. I mean, you do have your two party members, and there's a lot of fun mechanics in there that do not come across at all in the trailer. All anyone was focusing on was him saying chaos 5,000 times, and his general character design. It should be pointed out, you probably saw it a couple of times in the trailer there. You pick up armor as you play the game, like Neo. You know, your outfit will change a lot. You don't have one set. You don't have one set design. Anyway, that's Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Look for more of that on the channel later, or go check out the trailer yourselves. Count how many times he says chaos. Okay, Nintendo's Direct was actually really good. I know a lot of people were a bit down on it just because it didn't have a lot of the stuff they were looking for, but I was really into it. Big thing that came out of it, they just like dropped it out of nowhere. Lol, new Metroid, guys. So this is being billed as a sort of a stopgap between sorry, not between anything. It's been how many years since there's been a new Metroid game, but Metroid Prime 4 is taking forever to be developed and come out just because they keep starting over. So they have tasked Mercury Stream, I think it is, to make this Metroid Dread. So the big the gimmick, if you like, of this, well, one, it's a side-scrolling Metroid game. So yes, absolutely, more of that, please. You know how much I love side-scroller. But the gimmicky thing in this game is you have these dread enemies, or these robot enemies. You can't kill them by the looks of it. So it's a bit of the MSX from Super Metroid. I think it's Super Metroid. I said this during the I said this during the live stream, but I actually don't remember if it's called the MSX, and two, if it was Super Metroid or if it was a different Metroid game. There's a lot of dynamism from Samus here, and just in her animations, the way she moves, she's a bit more combative. So it looks really, really nice. The thing that I think some people have been pointing out is that Mercury Stream is that they're good at remakes or remasters and that kind of thing, but they're not so great at original content, and this would be an original story and what have you. So we'll see how it turns out. I am like very happy that there's another Metroid title, regardless really of how it turns out, to be honest. I just hope it's not so bad that they decide to rethink the whole Metroid thing in the first place, which is kind of what happened with Other M. But anyway, it was Metroid Dread. Then they had I don't know why that one decided to unmute itself. So they had a very, very brief amount of footage of Breath of the Wild 2, or what they're calling Breath of the Wild 2. Apparently that won't be its name. They just don't want to give away. Apparently its real name gives it away. Like some kind of plot or something. Some plot twist. So some interesting things there. They're showing off seems like some new mechanics that Link has, rewinding stuff. Again, you won't get it in this video because I'm not playing the music, but the music and sound effects play backwards. So there is some element, I think, of time travel through the game. One other thing, though, I would like to point out, I haven't seen it anywhere else on the Twitters, but they're very careful not to show the face of Link in this video. You'll also notice he has two different costumes, two different outfits. He's got the traditional Breath of the Wild, like the blue and grey, and then he's got a kind of like a robe and like a half-shoulder robe thing. You never see the character's face. There's like something messed up on their hand or on their arm. You don't see that on Link when he's wearing his blue outfit, but you do see it on the half-robed person. Let me go again. So like there, right, one, you'll never see their face, but you could see their arm has something messed up on it. It's there. Haven't seen their face yet. Still haven't seen their face. No face. You can't tell if the arm is messed up or not in that costume. Like this thing, still not showing the face. Like I assume the character wearing the blue outfit is Link, but I don't think it's for definite that this robed character is also Link. I don't think it is. I'm not saying it's Zelda either. It might be Ganon. Doesn't have the red hair, but again, they could be fucking with us just to not do that to you. You know, there might be a second protagonist. On the other hand, it could actually like straight up just be Link. And I'm reading too much into it. Then big thing that dropped on everybody. Jeff Keighley kind of dropped this on just at the end of Summer Game Fest, was a new trailer for Elden Ring that's showing off actual in-game stuff and potential gameplay stuff. So again, this is from the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro guys. So more from Software. Unsurprisingly, you are some shit guy in shit world and you need to make it less shit, you know. It doesn't really sound like they're breaking the formula too much here. Some changes that are coming out from one, this trailer, and then two, from the follow-up interview that they had with Miyazaki, is that the game is much bigger, kind of. It's not really an open world kind of thing, because Dark Souls was always kind of an interconnected dungeon sort of thing, but there will be an overworld, if you like, where you'll be riding around on your horse, moving from dungeon to dungeon, and those dungeons, I imagine, will probably be interconnected as well, because they do like their shortcuts so much. So some people have likened it to, it's got a bit of Zelda to it, in that, you know, there's a bit of an overworld where you move from dungeon to dungeon, you move out from the next overworld section, and you move on and so on. How much it'll play like that, we don't know. How much of Sekiro's influence will be there. I see a lot of the boss fights, there's a good bit of Sekiro to them, more so than Dark Souls. There's a lot of very familiar motifs, basically. If you've played a lot of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, mostly Dark Souls to be fair, you know, you'll be seeing a lot of things here that you're like, oh, that's this variation on something such and such, you know. There's a lot of I've seen this before, and there's obviously a certain amount of familiarity to that. There's a certain amount of comfort to it, but also I just hope it's not more of the same, and there's like, you know, they're trying to go better with it, trying to go bigger with it, trying to, you know, whatever. How much George R.R. Martin had involved in this, I don't know, to be honest. It's probably debatable, considering like this looks very much like a Miyazaki joint rather than a George thing. Also, that hand enemy is terrifying. I never want to fight it. Anyway, there's more of that trailer, although I had pretty much shown the whole thing. But there's more. There's a fleshed out trailer. There's a bit more gameplay. Yeah, and there's a whole like interview with Miyazaki. So this last game, this is called Planet of Lana, or Planet of Lama? Lana, with an N. To be honest, I meant to finish with Elden Ring, and I just had these two mixed around, but anyway, we'll go with it. This was shown off during Summer Game Fest, so it was one of the first presentations of last week, this week. I'm only really highlighting this just because of its art style. It just looks like it's painted, and it looks gorgeous, and I really want to play around with it and have a look at it. Gameplay, or sorry, not gameplay, but plot, story-wise, we don't know too much about it. Gameplay-wise, it looks like a side-scroller platform thing, which I love, so like there's no problem there. We don't know too much about the plot. All we know is we have cuddly character and child try to make it in potentially fucked up world with just terrifying giant spider thing. Anyway, that was Planet of Lana. So those were like some of the games, or most of the games to be fair, that I actually had any interest in. There were way more shown off. Most of them were games we'd already seen. I'll just keep playing this. Most of them were games we had already seen. There were a lot of Left 4 Dead's, you know, just people throwing something else on it. You got Left 4 Dead with vampires, there's Left 4 Dead with aliens, there's Left 4 Dead with but just with a different name, just Back 4 Blood. So I don't think you know, the genre had died somewhat, but it is seeing a bit of a resurgence at the moment, it seems. There were actually 2 games that were vampires with guns. And I just thought, well, at least one of them is vampires versus people with guns. So at least that sort of makes sense. But another one was vampires with guns. And you just have to think, you're a fucking vampire. What the hell do you need guns for? Like, a famously stealthy creature. You know, it's known for being a stealthy predator, and yeah, let's give them a shotgun for some fucking reason. Anyway, I'm still just annoyed that that's where they went with vampires. It's just dumb. Give me a vampire fucking Arkham Origins fucking game. Give me that. Or not Arkham Origins. Definitely not Arkham Origins. Arkham Asylum is what I meant. Anyway, we're gonna move on. If you want to look at more of the E3 summer presentation stuff, again, I have full live streams of those up on the channel, so you can go check those out. So new releases, so we're kind of bundling 2 weeks together, though to be honest, there wasn't much out. Nobody wanted to release their game in the middle of E3. This was Chicory, A Colorful Tale, which was surprise released during E3. It was sort of just dropped on the stage. Hey, there's this game where you play a nice dog who does some painting, and it's a kind of puzzly, colorful thing. But hey, it's out now if you want to go play it. So check that out. It's hard to tell exactly how the gameplay works. You can see this is a very heavily sped up section, so how long that actually takes to do, debatable. I assume it's a kind of draw specific thing in such a way as to solve a puzzle, but I also think there's some amount of freeformness to the gameplay. I haven't played it myself. It does look fun, so I'll probably give it a shot at some point. But anyway, that release, again, as I said, during Summer Game Fest, I believe, the kickoff. Final Fantasy Intergrade and the Intermission DLC was released. I don't normally say anything about DLC, but it is Final Fantasy VII. And I do love Final Fantasy VII, and I love it so much that I have been putting off playing the remake, because this is stupid, I don't want to be depressed while I'm playing it. And like, I try to be kind of upbeat in these videos, but like today was pretty tough, to be honest. Like I was intending to do this live, like a live stream of this, because I had been like setting up a whole live stream thing, and I just wasn't arsed. Like, I didn't even want to record this, to be honest. But it's, if you want to get something done, like these kind of videos things, try to keep a schedule, try to keep it, you know, somewhat frequent. you have to have discipline for it. It's not about motivation. So I just said we'll do it. We'll see how it goes. Whatever. But it's the same principle I'm applying to Remake, is that I want to play it. I want to be happy when I'm playing it, and I also want to LP it, and I don't want to be in a shitty headspace while it's happening. So it's putting me off playing something that I really, really want to play, and that sucks. But anyway, coming back from that tangent, the Intergrade Intermission DLC and upgrade were released last week, I think this week. So it's a free upgrade if you bought it on PS4. It is not a free upgrade if you got it through PlayStation Plus. And as for the DLC itself, I think it's a separate purchase, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked. And then this other thing I just thought was really interesting. I had been keeping an eye on it for a while. It's called Game Builder Garage, or Garage, Game Builder Carhold. It kind of takes a sort of gamification approach to building video games, and it is somewhat, like, it absolutely abstracts a considerable amount of the game development process, right? It's not as simple as just connecting things together, because you got to build the things that you're connecting in the first place. You don't get these animations out of the box and these assets and what have you, but it does kind of show you the concepts of not necessarily game design, but like the building blocks, like putting games together with like tools that you have together. You're just pulling things out of like a grab bag. You don't necessarily have anything bespoke, which you would if you were building a game, but this is more of a gamey tutorial kind of thing. But it's like, it's more of like an education thing, but I'm only finding it interesting because like I kind of do this kind of thing, or used to at least, in my spare time. Like I do a good bit of Unity development, and make my own games. I made a few of them when I was in university. You know, it's interesting. Like I'm just interested to see how they would like gamify it, I suppose. Gamify making games, if you like. It's just interesting to see it. And we'll see how that turns out. You can, like, it is a guided process, but you can make your own stuff in the same way that Little Big Planet and Dreams is a guided process, but you can eventually make your own stuff. It's kind of in the same space, same niche as something like Little Big Planet or Dreams. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like a ton of tools to make your own games, but nowhere near as much as something like Dreams or Little Big Planet. They are overwhelming as fuck, whereas these are a little bit, you know, friendlier. Anyway, those were the new releases for, well, the last 2 weeks, I suppose. But now we'll get to everyone's favorite part of this weekly news recap, the part where we weep for the industry that we like. We don't like the industry so much, we just like the stuff it makes. Anyway, we got shit on Bobby Kotick again. So his investor group have, on a number of times now, the people who handle the kind of investments in the company have basically said, he's paid too much. He makes far too much money for, well, they never really say why they don't like that he makes so much money. I'd like to think that it's just nobody should have that much money. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. I suspect it's that they want to be paid better themselves, so take a slice of his pay and give it to us kind of thing, but whatever. Earlier this year, Activision halved the CEO's pay and annual bonus target after he spent years pulling in tens of millions of dollars, even after laying off employees. A group representing those investors, however, don't think Activision went far enough. Basically, they implemented this thing where they halve his pay, but they only did it for a year. Like, the new terms expire on end of business year in March in 2023. So only 2022 is the only year that it'll actually apply to. And it's like, why? Why did you even bother? Like, a single year is going to do fucking nothing. In other words, the extension is not long enough to represent an earnest effort by these guys to reduce the CEO's outsized equity pay over a sustained period. The compensation committee is silent about its long-term incentive approach after that. So they're basically saying it's lip service. Like, these guys are kicking up a stink about it, so we'll do it for the absolute bare minimum, and hopefully they'll go away. And I guess they're not going away. Bobby has already received a windfall sufficiently large enough to cover reductions in his pay through early 2023. So they're taking this, halving his salary, but he's already been given enough bonuses to cover it. So he's already been paid. Like this halving thing will do nothing. Literally, it actually does zero. He's being paid higher than the median total for other like CEOs of other game publishers. He's paid considerably more. Well, maybe not considerably more, but we are talking millions here. So like even 1 million would be considerable. Mr. Kotick also received his award. His award intended for this year, but he got it last year. How often has your boss paid your salary a year in advance? Does that happen? Does that happen a lot? The answer is no. The answer is it doesn't. Anyway, that's just more news of rich people being annoyed at other rich people, basically. And it's just a reminder that Bobby Kotick is paid far too much money and is a terrible human being. Right. CD Projekt Red confess hack severity while everyone's distracted. So CD Projekt did the typical PR move is that when you have to deliver bad news, you deliver it while there's a much bigger story happening. Because you can just slip it in and no one will pay attention to it. So they did it while all the E3 reveals were happening. They just quietly let out, "Today we have learned new information regarding the breach and now have reason to believe that internal data obtained during the attack is currently being circulated on the internet. We are not able to confirm the exact contents of the data in question, though we believe it may include current, former employee and contractor details in addition to data related to our games." So, wow, you have fucked your employees over with this. It's not bad enough that they lost a bunch of like really important assets like Witcher and Cyberpunk like source code, but now employee data is out there to the highest bidder. And employee data, remember, employee data is like considerable. It's not just like an email or whatever. It's like social security numbers, bank accounts, that kind of thing. This is bad. This is very, very bad. And they decided to just slip that in under the radar while no one was paying attention. So that's some shitty behavior. So they did come back to say no player data has been affected, but still, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible for the employees and for CD Projekt to just try to hide it. Like, do the bare minimum. We let everybody know, but also we really didn't because we tried to slip it past everybody. That's like, have they always been like this? Have we just been blind because The Witcher was great and just didn't pay attention to the shit they were doing? Not to move on from CD Projekt because we got a bit more. So, debating whether or not this should go in dumb stuff or industry bullshit, but I eventually decided on industry bullshit. So part of the CD Projekt leak was a bunch of videos came out where they had made montage videos mocking the bugs in the game. Now that's not bad in and of itself. There are other studios who do the same thing. You know, like video games have bugs. They are software. All software has bugs. All of it. Except maybe the stuff that gets sent into space. But then again, that's like 30 years old. Like, they've probably found all the bugs at this point. This, you know, all software has bugs. We're not giving them shit for having bugs. But the reason it's in industry bullshit and not in dumb stuff is because they kept telling people, they kept reassuring people that it ran well on all platforms. Like, they stuck to their guns. That the game's developers knew how bad they were because they were making these videos. And I'm not going to show the video itself because it's not safe for work. Because, you know, you can get your dick out in CD Projekt Ars and there are some dick bugs. And oh god, dick bugs. I'm sorry I said those two words together. Those two words should never go together. Anyway, like, we're not giving them shit for making a comedy montage thing out of the bugs. That's fine. It's funny, it's lighthearted, it helps morale at the studio where, you know, everyone's in it together. You know, game development, you don't always get it right when you click the run button and then something stupid happens and you gotta go fix it. That happens. That's fine. It's being aware that the game wasn't running well so badly that you could make these videos, that you had enough content to make all these videos, but you kept telling everybody it was fine. That's the problem. That's why it's an industry bullshit. Anyway, so PlayStation CEO clarifies that one time he called games ancient. So Jim Ryan, who I have been on the channel before to say that he should not be PlayStation CEO, he has made some questionable decisions as is with his tenure there that I very much don't agree with and I'm very disappointed by. But he tried to walk back a statement he made a good while ago. It's like maybe 5 years ago now. More, I think. Was there a date now? 2017. So nearly 5 years. Where he said, when we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested, but not actually used much. That, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4 games, and the PS1 and the PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this? I don't know. Maybe people like the history of their games. Maybe people never got to play them in the first place. Maybe there's people coming to PlayStation early in their life. They want to go back and play the original. Like, people play Resident Evil 8 is doing fucking fantastic in the charts. You know, it's selling really well. Maybe people want to go back and go, why is it called 8? What was Resident Evil 1 like? I want to go back and play it. Oh, I fucking can't. That's why. That's why, Jim. That's why they want to do it. Anyway, this quote has been used as the argument that PlayStation doesn't offer enough support for its back catalogue. It doesn't. Sony also announced their plan to shut down the digital storefronts, which is also a problem for game preservation, which they eventually had to retract on because everyone bullied them into it. You cannot play PS3 games on PS4. You can only get PS2 and PS3 games on PlayStation Now, which is a shit streaming service. And as for playing PS1 games, I don't think there's a legitimate way to do it. Like, they want to shut down the Vita, which I think was the only way to do it at the time. A PS3, I think if you had one of the launch titles, you could play it in the disc tray. If you have a PlayStation TV, which they discontinued, that could play them, but again, you had to go through the Vita store to do it, which they were planning on shutting down. So pointing out here that it wasn't clear if PS4 games would work on PS5. Now, as it turns out, they did, but it wasn't clear at the beginning. There are actually a couple of games that don't work on PS4 games that don't work on PS5, and then you contrast that with Xbox's backward compatibility, which is really good. They've got the best for backwards compatibility, and Nintendo's is shit also. I will fully get behind that they are also terrible for their backwards compatibility stuff. But the thing is, they release their stuff on the new. They tend to do a lot of ports. Sony don't do that. They don't port their PS1 stuff, PS2, PS3, whatever. They leave it to the publisher or the developer to come back and make a remake or a remaster or a HD version or whatever. And then that'll only work on that console. There's so many HD remasters on the PS3 that they don't work on PS4. You can't get them. It's not that you can't get them. You can get them. They just don't fucking work. Do we have to wait for them to remaster it again for PS4? Is that what we're doing? You gotta pay for it again? Not every game is Resident Evil 4. You know, not every game is Final Fantasy 7 where I'll buy it no matter what platform it's on. Same with Resi 4. But it's just frustrating that he's trying to walk this back. Did we even get to the part where he tries to walk it back? Not really. It's in a separate article. Yeah, it's in an Axios thing, which is paywalled. I think that was the reason why it's not here. Anyway, he tries to walk it back, but he doesn't. He doesn't really walk it back. He was just saying that the PS4 and PS3 versions of Gran Turismo looked so much better. Like, comparatively, people wouldn't gravitate towards the PS1 and PS2 version. But you didn't do a good job of really clearing that up. and it just completely destroys the idea of a legacy of these game series. Like, there's a reason people buy the next entry of Resident Evil. There's a reason people buy the next entry for Gran Turismo. They have, I'm gonna say track record, but Gran Turismo anyway. They have, you know, they have a legacy that they've built up, and it is important to, you know, preserve that, and to be able to remind people and to be able to point to it to say, this thing that you like in Resident Evil 8, they did it in Resident Evil 4, or they did it in Resident Evil 2. You can go back through the story and see it. You can't do that right now. You can't go all the way back to the first Resident Evil. The first closest you'll get is the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube, or the HD version that they brought out, but that's not the original game. It'd be like if the Final Fantasy VII remake was the only way to play Final Fantasy VII. It's not. You can get it loads of places. But it would be like saying, oh, I wonder what the original looked like. If people are going so crazy about the remake, I wonder what the original was like. You know, why is there so much hype? Why were people so interested in getting a remake for the game and you couldn't play it? There was no way to find out. Like, what the fuck is that? It's the same thing. It's just game preservation, and it's always left up to pirates and PC to do it. And PC is not really up to it because they don't have the same hardware. You're emulating it. Emulation is not it's the only real viable way forward, but it's not the same. You know, it's not the same as having the hardware it was designed to play on, and that's a much bigger problem. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating that the person in charge of like a platform I've been playing on 20 years nearly, more I think, and they're just not, they should not be in charge. They don't have the correct, and I know this is who am I to say it's the correct I can't think of the word. I'm so angry. I can't think of the word. Yes, I'm just some guy on the internet. I'm not like Mr. Business or whatever, or I'm not even Mr. Video Games. Like, who am I to say who should and shouldn't be in charge? But I do feel like an actual game developer should be in charge of a game platform and not a suit. Wow, no matter how much he says he likes Gran Turismo. Anyway, so some shit came out over the weekend from the Five Nights at Freddy's creator, Scott Cawthon, where it was revealed that he had made a bunch of political donations to a bunch of shitheads in the US, to name a few. Now, you might not know these international viewers, and even I don't because I'm not from there, but I know enough, I've seen enough tweets from Americans and friends in America and family in America to know that these people are shit incarnate. Like, they're shit walking around in suits. And he has donated to them. Now, it's like, what you do with your money and your political donations and shit, fine. Don't agree with them, but it's your money. You do what you want. The problem is when he donates to all these people and then goes on to say that he expresses his love for LGBTQ, but he donates to people who could not possibly be any more opposed to LGBT people. Like, what they do is incredibly damaging to that community, to the people involved in that. And he tries to say, I liked it here. It's the black friend defense, is that he says he can't be homophobic, he can't be transphobic because look at all these LGBTQIA plus people he's befriended. You know, I can't be racist, I have a black friend. It's the same thing. But then he goes on to fund the people who are heavily damaging these people that he loves or has befriended. He's heavily damaging their life and tries to say it's not a big deal. You know, it's not just saying that you're against it. You can't be against something and then support the people that you for the thing that you're against. It just does not work that way. This article it kind of goes on to lay out like why these people were not good for the thing he's supposedly before. If people think I'm doing more harm than good now, then maybe it's better that I get cancelled and retire. You are not getting cancelled, Chief. These are consequences. These are well, look who it is. If it isn't the consequences of my own actions, this is what this is. It's not getting cancelled. This is consequences. And subsequently, he did retire. He put out a bullshit Reddit post to say, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna hand over Five Nights at Freddy's to somebody else. And he went on to say, I'm a Republican, a Christian, and pro-life, and I believe in God, despite all of those people being against gays, against transsexual people. Like it's clear he really only wanted the money and the adoration, but he clearly didn't want to actually, immerse himself in these problems. He just went, thanks for your money. That was it, really. Anyway, back to video games. So Back 4 Blood, despite being able to be played single player, is always online, no matter what, for no reason. Or at least they're not going to tell you why. So Turtle Rock confirmed in a tweet somewhere that Back 4 Blood is always online, even if you're playing solo. So we're looking into ways we could support offline. No, they're not. But you will need an internet connection to play at launch. Why? What is the reason? It's like, I know what they're gonna say. It's to facilitate drop in and drop out or whatever, so you're always online. I would love to be able to just say, I literally will never ever play with another person. Ever. Where's the switch to just say, just fuck off for everybody else? I don't want to play with you. Ever. Just make my game completely isolated from the internet. I don't want anybody in it. Anyway, there's some quotes here, and that as soon as they learned the news that it was always online, it went from an automatic day one to an automatic pass. There's zero reason for it to be online and so on. Left 4 Dead itself, the game that they worked on, the game that they left Valve to work on for Back 4 Blood, that could be played offline. Why can't this game be played offline? Wesley goes on to kind of liken it to Outriders, which has the same issue in that Outriders can be played solo, but you still need an internet connection for no reason. And that doesn't even have drop in, drop out. You have to make a lobby to do online with, to do co-op in Outriders. That game absolutely has no excuse for being online, but it is. To be honest, it's a classic example of where they assume the vast majority of people. In fact, they assume everybody is going to play with their friends in co-op. Like, who would play the game completely solo? Who does that? There's so many game developers who have that mindset, and it's very frustrating. Wesley also makes the point that as a game preservation issue, if the game has to be online to function, the servers will shut down eventually. Like, they will. This is how they work. Now how will you play the game? Did I purchase a brick at that point? Not that a CD would make a very good brick, but you get my point of view. Not that ephemeral data on the console would make for a very good brick, but you get the idea. If a game that has to be online but can be played solo, what happens if I want to play it solo, but the servers are gone? Now, the correct answer to that is they patch in you don't need the server to play thing. But if they could do that, why didn't they do it right at the start? That's why. Anyway, FIFA Ultimate Team tries out loot box previews. So, somewhat good, somewhat bad news. So, I've gone on a little bit about the FIFA Ultimate Team stuff. I'm very much against it. It's just gambling. I'm definitely on the side of loot boxes are gambling, and should not appear in video games ever. Now, Yeah, that's a bit even more of a hardline stance than a lot of people. I think most people just want it to be recognized as such and then to be treated the same way gambling is. And to be honest, I'd be fine with that too, but I would also rather it was just taken out entirely. Anyway, they are trialing a preview thing. So basically, instead of the typical foot packs or foot books, wherever the fuck it's called, you get what's called a preview pack instead. So you can preview what's in the pack, what's in the loot box before you buy it. The shitty thing they're doing though is that you can only do that once. If you preview a pack and then don't buy it, like you preview it and there's nothing in it you want, so why would you buy it? You are then locked from previewing any other ones until either you do buy it or you have to wait 24 hours before it refreshes. Wow. That is quite the fucking timer you have. Like, it's good that it's good that there's an option. Obviously, you're not just buying completely blind. You could see, is there anything in this I actually want? And most of the time the answer is no, because that's how loot boxes work. I just think that the 24-hour timer is bullshit. Alright, that's just stupid. And really, you should just be able to buy the thing you want and just leave it at that. But obviously they wouldn't make as much money that way, because as is pointed out here, the Ultimate Team, right, the where FUT comes from, is responsible for like nearly 30% of their entire revenue. Right, they make a shit ton of money out of not letting you know what you're buying. That's what they do. They sell mystery boxes, and they make a lot of money doing it. All because people don't know what's in the box. What's in the box? People don't know. People don't know if it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head or if it's Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, they don't know that, and they still have to pay for it. I wonder if they would really make as much money if they just sold the really rare cards for like a ridiculous amount of money, or would it be so blatantly obvious how bad it is? Yes. Anyway, this is obviously a response to like many lawsuits they're getting. People starting to recognize it as a gambling thing. Big problems in Europe from Belgium and the Netherlands, saying like, this is, one, it's gambling, and two, it's illegal gambling. So it's like, we definitely don't want to come down on that. So I guess they'll probably point at this as compliance with whatever Belgium and the Netherlands decide to come up with, but it's too much. It's too big a cut of their revenue for them to just take it away entirely. So they're going to be adapting and cutting and like shaping this system to make it just about fit the definition. And I think they've got a lot of work ahead of them, because no matter what way you look at it, well, since you can preview the thing, it won't be gambling then, because you know what you're getting. It'll basically become a question of how many players are willing to put up with this timer. Really, that's the bottleneck. Are people willing to put up with 24 hours before they try to purchase again? Or will they go, okay, that pack didn't work out, but I'm just going to keep going and buy blind packs after that? You know, which side do they come down on, and then how many people go one way and how many people go the other way will determine what they do about that timer. Okay, last thing for industry bullshit, and this one's a big bullshit one. Facebook, who bought Oculus a good while ago, and have been forcing you to use a Facebook account to even use Oculus Quest, has announced that it's testing ads that will appear inside games and apps in your face. No way to get away from the ad. You can't even look away because this follows. I don't want to look at this ad. No, look at it. The first game to show ads will be Resolution Games' Blaston, which is $10. That's right, ads in a game that you paid for. That's what it looks like. So you'll see an ad inside the game. Will it be like, it's not exactly tasteful exactly, but at least it's not like a pop-up or whatever. I suppose it could have been worse. Anyway, Other big problem, everybody, is that it's using the same personalization tools that are on Facebook. So whatever ads, if you happen to have a Facebook account, whatever ads you see on Facebook right now, I'm not on Facebook. I'm trying desperately to not have to make a Facebook account for my Oculus Quest. But there are a lot of good games in the Quest too, so I'm really trying to hold out on. But anyway, it's going to use the same tools. So whatever ads you're currently seeing on Facebook, you're going to start seeing them in the Oculus Quest as well. There's no way around this because you have to make a Facebook account to use the Oculus Quest. To use the Oculus Quest 2. Oculus Quest 1, I believe, if you already had an account before November of last year, you were grandfathered in. Grandfathered? I've never said that word like that. Grandfathered in, where you did need a Facebook account, but I believe that will be phased out at the end of this year. Maybe it's the start of next year, I'm not sure. And then Oculus Quest 2, no matter what, you have to have a Facebook account. So there's no getting away from those ads, basically. You can't get around it by just not having a Facebook account. Because it's only for the Oculus Quest 2, I think. Doesn't say, actually. It might be for the Oculus Quest 1 as well. Obviously, this is bad. One, it's ads appearing in a game you paid for. Like, there'd be something to be said for it was a free-to-play game and there's ads in it. Like, that's not good, but you can't really say anything about it because, you know, that's sort of how free to anything things, free services, that's how they work. They have to put ads in them. They have to get your data. That's where they make all their money, you know. The product isn't sorry. You're not the customer. It's the people who buy your data. They're the customer. You know, that's how those services work. But if you're paying for the game and you paid for the headset, you know, they're not cheap. Oculus Quests aren't cheap. And you're paying for the games on it, and they're also locked to that platform. You can't take them anywhere. You know, it's not like you can put on a HTC Vive or whatever and still be able to play the same games. You know, they're locked to the Oculus Store. So you're paying for something and then there's ads in it. Like, what the fuck is that? It's clearly just captive audience in so many ways. Like, you are locked into your Facebook account, so they know exactly what ads to show you with their targeted shit. You know, they know that you have this device, so any game you're going to buy, you're going to have to buy it on their store. So you're going to have to put up with the games that have ads in them. Like, there's no way around it. In fact, the only way around it is to buy a different device. Which is fine if you haven't bought one already, but if you bought one already, you're kind of fucked here. That being said, it is testing. It's testing the ads. Maybe their tests will reveal that this is shit and we shouldn't do it. I'm sure Facebook will definitely come to that understanding. Yeah. Anyway. Dumb stuff. So, Hatsune Miku sneaks onto Ireland's high school exit exam. So, this is dumb enough as it is, but just because it happened to be in Ireland, where I'm from, I just thought I had to put this in. So, the Leaving Certificate, as it's called, that's our equivalent to the SATs, I guess, in America, or A-levels, I think, GCSE in England, I'm not sure. But basically, it's the exam you take to go on to higher education, to go into college, university, what have you, if that's your choice. But Hatsune Miku somehow showed up on the exam itself, so it's in Reset Era. I'm sorry for sending you to Reset Era. Reset Era? I don't know. Anyway, this is what it's from. So basically, this was on the ordinary level English exam. So that would be, we have 3 levels of exams. We have foundation level, ordinary level, and higher level of whatever the subject happens to be. Not every subject gets those 3. Some subjects only have 2. Some subjects only have 1. Ordinary level would be somewhere in the middle, English comprehension, but you wouldn't see a lot of like Shakespeare and shit on it. It's for people who maybe struggle a little bit with English, but not so bad that they like need remedial stuff. I don't know. I've probably insulted a whole bunch of people there. I'm sorry if I did. I'm terrible at explaining it. Higher levels for big nerds. Let's just put it that way. And ordinary levels probably for not big nerds. Anyway, so there's an English comprehension section here where they talk about Vocaloids and music and the history of music in general. And then they'll ask you questions on stuff that was in the article just to see if you understood what was in the article. That's basically it. But for some reason, Hatsune Miku is in it. But the next one is the best part. Write a short story in which Hatsune Miku, the turquoise-haired virtual singer who is pictured in text 2, escapes from her computerized world into the human world. That's on what could almost be considered a college entrance exam. Like, that's ridiculous. And it's even more ridiculous that it's in Ireland, of all places. It's like the reason this is in dumb stuff. This is so fucking dumb. I don't know. I saw this on Twitter a few days ago, and I thought it was a fucking joke. But apparently, it's not. I don't know. I don't know anybody sitting the Leaving Cert at the moment, and if I did, I would have asked them to show me the paper if they could kept it. This is some dumb fucking shit. Anyway, that was the news for June 14th to June 20th with a bit of layover for E3. I didn't do a weekly news recap last week, because I was setting up the live stream stuff and getting that ready to record and stream the E3 Summer Games presentations that were pretty shit, honestly. They could quite easily have just been a press release. So many of them could have just been a press release. Like, the Summer Game Fest stuff was good. The Jeff Keighley thing, well, good. I hesitate to say good, to be honest, but compared to the rest of it, it was good. It was also the only live thing. The rest of them were all pre-recorded. Ubisoft was trash. There was nothing in it I was interested in. And I'm just thinking about it. The only game I can think of from Ubisoft is Prince of Persia that I actually give a shit about. And everything I see about that game makes me worry for it more and more. After that, it was Xbox and Bethesda. Their presentation was good. It was just, here's some games, here's some more games, here's some more games, here's some more games. Here's a very brief talking head bit, and then here's some more games, here's some more games. It was a like very quick, not even a very quick presentation. It actually went on for like an hour and a half, but it felt like it was really fast. It was just games. I wasn't particularly interested in most of them, but I would agree it was a good presentation. I'm just a bit salty about the Xbox exclusives because there are some there that looked really good, and I'm annoyed because I don't have an Xbox. After that, Capcom's fucking presentation should have been an email. Should have been a press release, because there was nothing. It was Resident Evil 8's getting some DLC, maybe. Watch this space. Okay. There was a bit about Monster Hunter Stories 2, but that could have easily have slotted into Nintendo Switch, into the Nintendo Direct, because they also had a segment on Wings of Ruin, and they should have just put the two of them together. Then there was a really, really extended thing on Ace Attorney. Like, it went on for ages, just explaining very basic gameplay concepts. And then, thinking that went on forever, they did a fucking esports section. It felt like it was an hour long. It wasn't, but fuck, it felt like it was. I kind of feel like... Sorry, there's been music playing in the background there, apologies. It felt like... It felt like they needed to pad it out, is what it felt like. And they just really should have just said no. When they were asked, do you want to do an E3 presentation, they should have just said, no, we don't. We're good, thanks. Namco Bandai definitely should have, because they showed one game. They showed House of Ashes, which I am looking forward to, but I didn't need a whole fucking presentation on that game. I get it, I understand it. I don't need don't need this. Certainly didn't need to be part of the whole E3 presentation thing either. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the Switch Direct, that was good. There were a lot of interesting games on that. Metroid coming out of nowhere was really good too. I know a lot of people didn't like it, mostly because there just wasn't any Pokemon in it. There was no Pokemon and there's very little Mario, so, and also very little new, like not traditional Nintendo IPs. So I certainly get that disappointment, but fuck you, because we haven't seen Metroid in like 20 years, so get fucked, basically. Fuck them kids. Anyway, that was the news recap for 20th June. Let me know what you guys thought. I am looking to do these live in the future. I just need to pick a time slot. The house isn't always free on Sundays, so I don't know. Maybe it'll become a Saturday thing instead. I don't know. Watch my Twitter. I'll probably announce it at like 2 a.m. US time, and nobody will see it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.